Welcome back, guys. In this video, we're going to continue looking at all the cool things we can do with our peaches.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to do some hand peeling. Now this is something that you have to be very careful with. You have to make sure to watch the blade of your knife, where your fingers are. So you can cut away from yourself, but I think it's actually safer to kind of make sure you have your finger toward the very back. Make sure to keep your left hand, all your fingers out of the way. And we're just kind of going to go around the peach and get that peel off. And when you get towards your finger, you want to make sure that you kind of don't pull too hard with your knife, because that can slip and go right into your finger, and we don't want that. So now that we have our peach all peeled, you do see some kind of soft spots in here, so we can go ahead and just kind of cut those out with our knife. You do need to be very careful with this. You don't want to cut your fingers, and peaches are very slippery. So sometimes they're a little hard to hold on to. So if you do need to cut a soft spot out, you can kind of lay it on your board and cut like that. Okay, that way you're not using your fingers. So with this one, I've already cut it in fourths to peel it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to peel away like this. Alright, so I've gotten that out. We're going to stick that in our bowl. We have some of this red. We're just going to cut that out with our knife. Stick that in our bowl. We'll do all of these like that. And again, since these are really slippery, you can kind of cut them in half like that, and just kind of go along your board as such. Okay. Again, watch those fingers. Make sure you keep that claw grip. You don't want to stick your fingers out like that, because you can get chopped by the knife. So you kind of use that claw grip that you can kind of even pick up with. So you can use that claw grip and just go straight down with your knife like that. Okay? Okay, so now that we have that, we have our big bowl over here to the side. I'm going to slide that just a little bit closer for me. Make sure that knife is on the edge, blade away. Don't want to cut ourselves when we're doing this. We're just going to transfer these peaches to the bowl. So now what we're going to do after we have our peaches all chopped up, we're going to put about half of them into the blender with about half of our heavy cream. Then we're going to puree that just a little bit until it's still a little bit chunky, because we don't want it to be, completely smooth, but we don't want to have huge chunks in our ice cream. Okay, so now that it's about half full, we're going to go ahead and put our heavy cream in. Should be about half. Okay, so now that that's in there, we're just going to go ahead and puree it. See, I like smoother peach ice cream. So it might be a little. I think it's still pretty chunky. So now that we have our peach, our heavy cream, and sugar mixture in the bowl, we're going to add a can of sweetened condensed milk. We're going to add a can of evaporated milk. and a teaspoon of vanilla. We're just going to mix that up. Once we get it mixed up, we're going to just put some plastic wrap on it and stick it in the refrigerator until we're ready to add it into our ice cream maker. So we took the ice cream mixture out of the refrigerator and we added it into our ice cream canister. And to get it up to the top of the level where we needed it, we just added some extra milk in on top of it and kind of mixed it together. So then we added the dash in the middle of the canister, added the lid, and then we put the mechanism that actually turns the canister. So then we added layers of ice and rock salt, and that's what's gonna freeze our ice cream. So you'll know the ice cream is ready when the ice cream maker completely stops. So while it's going around, while it's churning, you may hear it to start kind of slow down. And so it's getting close to the end when your ice cream is ready. But once it completely stops, and then that's when your ice cream's ready, you can pull it out from the rock salt and the ice, and you're ready to eat it.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. So one of my biggest passions is when I go to the farmer's market, I typically tend to buy a little bit much. But the good thing about that is there is a lot you can do and make with this fresh produce. So today we are going to make a fruit cobbler with some of the fresh peaches we got from the farmer's market the other day. So right here I've got my 4 cups of peaches that have been diced up and they're ready to go. We'll start working with them in a second, but first what we're going to do is we're going to mix our dry ingredients. Now I've set aside a cup of sugar to go in my stock pot on my peaches. And then right here we're going to start with our flour. So I've got a cup of all-purpose flour and we're going to take our cup of sugar. We got flour, sugar, we're going to add our baking powder. Salt. And we need to get our milk, which of course we kept in the fridge because that is food safety. Now mix that up. Now in preparation for our next step, so we have our butter, which we have already melted. What we're going to do today is a little different than what you're going to do at home. Instead of doing one big pan, we did 2 smaller pans to split it up since we can share it amongst ourselves. So once you get your batter done, we've got our melted butter here. We're just going to pour half of that, another half into the bottom. Now what's important is we're not going to stir our batter once we put it over the butter. It's supposed to just sit there. Nice coating on your pan, the bottom. So before I move to the next step, I'm going to go ahead and make sure my pot is on with my peaches, and I'm going to add my 1 cup of sugar. So we're going to bring these peaches to a boil over high heat. So just keep an eye on them. We don't want them to scorch or have any accidents. So make sure that your batter good and stirred up. And then we're just going to pour. Remember, if you're at home and you're doing it in a 13 by 9, you're going to pour the whole thing into your pan. But here we're splitting that recipe in half. we're going to go ahead and add our cinnamon now that we're getting some good bubbles. We're going to mix that around. There's a lot of adaptations to a cobbler recipe. You can go online and find so many different things that you can do. Some, of course, will call for you to sprinkle cinnamon on top. This one is adding it to the actual peaches, so that when you pour it, you don't have to worry about making sure you have the cinnamon spread evenly. So make sure you turn your stove off before you do anything, because you don't want to leave an eye on accidentally. And so we're going to take our mixture, got our oven mitts, just nice and easy. Going to pour half of that. And remember, if you're following the recipe exactly, you're going to have dump everything in the same pan. Now be careful, because this pot is still going to be hot. We're going to put that in the oven at 375 for 40 to 45 minutes until just golden brown. So you want to periodically check your cobbler while it's in the oven. You want to check and make sure the top gets nice and golden brown, and the mixture shouldn't be too jiggly either. So once you get there, you're going to want to go ahead and pull your cobbler out and let it sit for just a few minutes so it can set up.
Hey guys, so we're going to be making peach preserves today, some of my absolute favorites. To get our peaches prepared, we're going to go ahead and wash them, peel them, and chop them, get them ready to go in our food processor. This is actually going to crush our peaches for us. We're going to add that mixture into a pot along with lemon juice or fruit saver. That is just going to preserve the color of the peaches and create a really nice final product. Along with that, we're going to add powdered pectin and some sugar. And so once all those ingredients are added along with our crushed peaches, here you're going to want to go ahead and bring it to a rolling boil. And once you do that, you're going to want to make sure that you're constantly stirring it, that nothing burns or sticks. And you're going to notice some bubbles that are coming to the top of the surface, and it's going to kind of cover that whole area. And you're going to want to skim those bubbles off the top. Your mixture is ready to go into the jars. So you're going to want to put that into sterilized jars by kind of ladling it through a funnel into the jars, and you want to leave about a quarter inch head space, but you want to wipe off the rim of the jar, making sure that we get a really nice seal, release any of those air bubbles that are down in our mixture, and then we're ready to add our lid. And the most important part when adding a lid to a jar when canning is just making sure that it's only finger tight. You don't want to really bear down on it, get it super tight, but only using kind of the edge of your fingers to tighten down the lid. So then you're going to transfer the jar into our pot of boiling water. And so once this comes to a boil, then you're going to go through the whole process, but making sure that you have at least 2 inches of water over the top of those lids. So once you go through the whole process of your canning, you want to pull those out, lay them on a towel on your counter. You're going to hear some popping noises. That's only the jars sealing themselves. That's actually what we want to hear. So then after that happens, you have your finished product.
A great food safety tip is that no matter what size jar you use, whether they're half pints or pints, is to make sure you label what is in your jar and when it was preserved. That way you can make sure that your food is up to proper date and there's no mix-ups in what you're pulling out of your pantry.